Hey everyone, how's it going? So, I thought it'd be a good time to start talking about, some of the changes that I would personally like to see come to Street Fighter V Arcade Edition. So, I want to start with the system changes first before, we get crazy and start talking about the characters. And most of my focus is on risk and reward. So, one of the largest issues and biggest offenders of that, I feel, is neutral crush counters. So, Capcom wanted to focus on making Street Fighter V a more neutral-based fighting game, and there has been some great changes from Street Fighter 4 to complement that, such as the removal of focus attacks, which made it scary to just simply press a button because the opponent could be fishing for it by holding down the focus, or the wake-up game is also not as harsh in this, where, one hard knockdown and it could be lights out, you could be in a vortex. But the crush counter system in Street Fighter V has created some new issues, new problems, I feel, that has really limited the buttons that you can use in neutral against certain characters, where the risk and reward is really lopsided. So let me start explaining why neutral crush counters are so lopsided. So the first thing is the priority system. This is actually one of the biggest factors. In case you guys didn't know, in Street Fighter V there's a priority system where the harder strength normal will beat the lower strength normal if they hit on the same frame on the same time, basically. So a hard strength normal will beat a medium and light attack if they collide on the same frame. This is a big deal since, pretty much every crush counter is a hard normal. So it's already powerful enough as it is. It's not just the hitboxes that are a problem. It will just outright beat them. So when you think that your other normals, such as your super fast light attacks that are supposedly safe, they get beat out by these slow moving hard normals. And then we have the light attacks again being super short range, get beat up by super long range crush counters. And then of course there's very small rewards. If you poke someone with the light attack, the conversions are very low. You just get little damage from them, whereas a hard attack is a lot of damage to begin with, and there's a much harder damage output. So yes, the priority system does cause some issues with this. The next issue is how easy they are to confirm. So one of the cool things in Street Fighter, or fighting games in general, is the bonus frame advantage that you get when you land a counter hit with your attacks. It allows some cool rare combos if your reactions are on point, and you can scout the counter hit message. But with crush counters, a giant spark just flies across the screen and the opponent is super stunned and spinning and such, with giant hit stop and a huge smashing sound. Most players will confirm their crush counters 99% of the time, doesn't matter what skill level you are, so the reward is almost guaranteed and there is no extra execution required. On top of this, because the confirm is so easy, this allows some very lopsided confirms into critical art. There's some crush counters that you could just see it and you could do your super right after, or even V trigger, and that'll create another combo from there. Kain is an easy example where she can confirm her standing hard kick crush counter into V trigger. You can just activate if you see it hit or not, and there's a ton of other characters that can do this, so that's a problem in itself too. Another issue is that many of these crush counters are safe on block, making them no-brainer normals to use in neutral. So there's a huge reward, but there's also a low risk. Capcom, they wanted to give each button their own specific use. Some could be used in rare situations, but every button has its use. But with some of these crush counters buttons being so good, they pretty much diminish your own character's buttons as well as your opponent's buttons. And I think that goes against that whole philosophy of what Capcom wanted to do. Some strong crush counters are punishable, but because of the pushback, there's so much. And some of these attacks are so long range that most of the attacks can be easily spaced and make them safe, such as Rashid's crouching hard punch, Karin's standing hard kick, and Yurian's standing hard punch. I mean, -2, -4, -2, and plus these attacks are being used so far away that even if they were point blank, the punish is not going to be that hard anyway, so the risk is extremely low. Now the biggest offenders are definitely crush counters that are plus on block. Not just safe, but plus. Balrog's standing hard kick, +3 on block. Akuma's crouching hard punch, +3 on block. And then Bison's standing hard kick, +3 on block. These are just a few examples. How many times have you guys been put in the corner against Balrog and he just walks forward and goes, standing hard kick, just fishing for it. It's crazy. These characters just hammer buttons and still maintain pressure even after you block their attacks. The risk has been pretty much removed and therefore abused, and that's what creates balance issues to begin with. Finally, what's the reward of landing a crush counter? Well, first off, crush counters give bonus damage, of course, because, you know, they're counter hits, and V-gauge, which is fine. I like it that it gives V-gauge because, you know, we want to gain V-gauge in other ways in this game besides, you know, blocking with your face. The issue is, on top of this, some characters get long combos, including full dashing combos, which is crazy and can immediately put you in your opponent into the corner and drastically turn the match from, you know, a neutral game to throw loop city, basically. So what can we do about this? Alright, here are some solutions now. So the first option is more scaling. So for example, a crush counter adds another 10% or 20% scaling afterwards, after the initial hit. This would be the lightest nerf to crush counters, I think, because you're still gaining V-gauge, you're still getting meter gain, and as well as the corner carry, and the opponent has super and converts from it. I mean, the scaling is not going to matter anyways because of the 50% cap. So I personally don't think this will actually fix the issue. It'll still make crush counters really, like, abusable. The second option is to limit the reward or add risk by making the buttons punishable or harder to hit in general. So using the core cast as an example is actually an easy way to explain this. It seems like Capcom had this idea to begin with. They didn't want the crush counters to be too abusable when they were making the core cast, but then they slowly just kind of slipped off the edge here, so it's strange. But let's start by talking about Ryu. I mean, Ryu's a perfect example because the whole game is balanced around this character. So Ryu's crush counter, his standing hard kick. I mean, he doesn't get a full dashing combo off of it. He gets another standing hard kick into a standing light kick into Tatsu or DP. It's not something that he can just randomly throw out in neutral carelessly because it whiffs on opponents that are crouching, right? It does have some more use when the opponents are throwing fireballs really close to you or leaving themselves open, but that's a specific time where you're like, oh, as a Ryu player, I should use standing hard kick more in this matchup. It's not something where you use it in every single matchup, so there is thought behind this. And then we have Ryu's standing hard punch, something that is more reliable because it hits crouchers, people that stand, but it's -1 on block, so it is safe, but you don't create pressure from it. You lose your turn because it's -1. And then on top of that, the reward is lower than standing hard kick. You barely get anything off of it. I mean, you can complete your target combo. Of course, you have V-trigger conversions, but that's specific if you have V-trigger or not. So I think Ryu is a good start when I'm talking about, you know, the risk and reward of these crush counters. Chun-Li, another good example. Standing hard kick whiffs on crouchers once again, and it's super slow. Back hard punch hits crouchers, but once again, you don't get much off of it. I mean, you get EX lightning legs, V-trigger conversions. That's pretty much it. Unless you have, you know, if your V-trigger's already up, you get a lot off of it, actually. Then we have Cammy. Standing hard kick, same thing, whiffs on crouchers. It's not something that Cammy is going to blindly use in neutral. And she did have her crouching hard punch as a crush counter. You guys remember back in the beta days of Street Fighter V, but Capcom removed it, and for good reason, because once again they knew it could be abused. So it's strange that they knew before, but I don't know. And then Vega, same thing, standing hard kick, whiffs on crouchers. I mean, even in Season 1, Guile's forward hard punch, it whiffs on crouchers. So there is definitely some risk to these crush counters that have the bigger rewards, and it's just a good way to kind of tune it so that we still have the crush counter system, but just limit the rewards so they're not as crazy and add more risk. And of course, the final solution would be to simply just remove neutral crush counters altogether from the game. Just take them out. So keep crush counter punishes still, because, you know, we don't want to abandon the mechanic altogether. That'd be a waste, but I think this would honestly be the easiest fix to the game. Just take out neutral crush counters. I would prefer if crush counter sweeps still stayed in the game though, because I think they're perfectly balanced, in my opinion. The reward is good as it gives a hard knockdown, but it's not insane. I mean, you still have to capitalize off that hard knockdown yourself. And the risk is also good because they're easily punishable. Most sweeps are punishable. They're like -12. Well, most characters are. So let me know what you guys think about this. Neutral crush counters. What should they do about them? Are they fine the way they are? Should they be removed from the game altogether? Or is there a good middle ground that we can use? Let me know in the comments below, guys. I'll make some more videos about some more topics that I'd like to see for Arcade Edition. Don't forget to like the video and be sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll keep you guys posted on more news in the future. So till then, guys, take care.